Howdy and welcome, Frank here, and we're just franking around. Come with us for another episode where we'll show you stuff, laugh at stuff, drive over stuff, camp with stuff, sometimes we'll cook stuff and just do some fun stuff. So sit down, grab your favourite liquid, relax and chill, and we'll drag you along for the ride, all while sitting in your own comfy chair. Cheers, guys. All right, and in part two of our three-part series, we're chatting with the great man from Just Frankin Around, and we're going to hear about how his sort of media presence started, how affluent he's become, or was that effluent? I don't know. Now, someone also asked about, you've written 2 books, you're a published author, you've written 2 books. What was the first one again?
Yeah, right. 89 days, 27 showers.
That's it. That was the 2008 trip with the Territory.
Yep.
Yeah,
great read. Available on Amazon. Check it out. Amazon.
And then you had a subsequent instalment. What, about 5 years later? What was that one?
The second one was 34 days. 34 days, 9 showers, and that was that was a 2013 trip.
Right. Yeah. Okay. 2013. So let me get this right. The 2008 trip. You had the Jayco Outback, so it was a 99 model, behind a brand new 2008 Ford Territory. And then 5 years later...
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, 5 years later, you had a 15-year-old Land Cruiser, the same caravan, and the car had, 300,000 kilometres on it, it says here. You're towing the same trailer, but the car's like 15 years old. What was that about? So what was the difference between the 2 cars?
Frank, they're totally... poles apart. They're poles apart, these 2 cars. The Territory is, a refined, comfortable, luxurious urban car. The Land Cruiser is, dare I say, almost agricultural. It's a different beast, but they're built for this kind of stuff. They're built for the long days, long kilometres, pulling a load. So there's plenty of torque. They're a little bit thirsty, but and that maybe they're not quite as comfortable, but they are rock solid. They really are, and you can see that because there's so many of them still on the road now. Those early hundreds, even 80 series, you see good 60 series. So Toyota, the way to go.
Yeah, so you said you actually got bogged on Fraser with the Territory.
Yeah, so that's going back to the 2008 trip, getting bogged with the Territory.
So what happened?
What had happened, and I remember old mate Andrew actually said to me, no mate, don't take the Territory onto Fraser. And I'm going, you'd be right, yeah, all good. So we've got the caravan on our back. We get on to, we left from Harvey Bay, and then you should get on the ferry there and you jump along off at Wangulba beach or whatever. That's where the ferry picks up, and there's a little car park area there. So we get into the car park, we pull up, air down a little bit, and we start going down. So from there, you're on the east coast of Fraser Island. You basically go across the centre where there's the area called Central Station. Excuse me. And at Central Station, that's where there was big logging activity back in the day, the 60s and earlier. And then from there, the track gets a little bit gnarly. So you start going down towards the west coast. And sorry, beg your pardon, other way around. You're on the west coast at Wangulba, and then you're heading east. And it got to the point that there's the track's going along very, very sandy, very, very soft. No dramas though, but all of a sudden it's quite narrow, and you've got a lot of scrub and trees and that either side, and it looked like the track was going off to the left, but in fact it was going to the right, and the left bit was just a little cutout where they actually let the sort of drainage or whatever. And as soon as I sort of started turning the wheel, lo and behold, I basically ploughed into the middle section, which is a great big, literally just chunk of sand. And so I'm stuck. There's a guy on a Hilux behind me. Damn it, I can't reverse. So I'll get out and assess the situation. It's like, all right. And I had put the pressures down a little bit to about 24, I guess, but they're not big walled tyres. They're not a big sidewall, so you can't really take too much pressure down. So next minute I look and there's a bus, and there's another bus, and they can't get past me. It's one way. So we ended up, one bus driver comes up and he's giving me stick. He's like, what do you bloody put on a bloody van like that, a car like that, blah, 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 blah. The other bus driver comes and goes, piss off, mate. Sorry, go away. And he said, what are your tyre pressures? I said, they're about 24. And he goes, no, take them down to about 18. I went, okay. And on the caravan as well. And he goes, listen, what you're going to do, you're going to go back a little bit, and the track's going to go straight for about half a kilometre, and it's going to veer to the left, but there's a little track going straight. The main track's to the left. You're going to keep going straight. You're going to put in second gear, and you're going to just keep going and keep going. Fang it. Do not stop. Okay, you've got to get through there. It's going to be rugged. You know, all right. So we do that. We jump into the car, and I sort of, okay, guys, you know, hang on. And lo and behold, you can see the main track's going off, but there's a little narrow track going straight ahead, and we've gone into the track, and you know, mirrors are in. It's rutted this way, so the wheels are going through the ruts, but it's also going like this. And I look back at one point in the rearview mirror, and I can see the caravan's literally just bouncing along these ruts. And I'm going, oh, damn, we're going to die. And Melanie's freaking out, but sure enough, lo and behold, what basically happens is that this little track goes straight, the other main track goes around, and it meets up. And just where it meets up, suddenly the road's a little bit better, the track's a bit better. They've got timber tracks lying along, and it gets a little bit firm, and we get in there, and you know, not only a couple of minutes after we sort of stop in there, we're all like this. The buses go past, and they're all waving, whatever. But I kind of knew at that point that if we had about 7 days on Fraser, and I thought if we can't know that we're going to get the car off the island, Melanie's going to freak, and we're going to have a rubbish time. So we went into Eurong. There's a bunch of shops through there, and I went straight into the grocery store, and I said, oh, listen, is there a tow service on the island? And the lady said, yeah, there is. Are you in Strife? And I said, no, I'm not in Strife, but I'm going to be next Thursday. So we basically arranged to have the dude with the tow truck come, and we met him at Eurong. He basically, all he had to do was basically tow the caravan to Central Station. That's what we'd agreed to, and then we'd follow in the territory, because the territory itself was okay, but just that extra load, and going from the east coast to the west is also a little bit more uphill. So that was good. So thankfully, and he was only going to charge us $50 for that, and so we had a great time. We could only go up as far as Indian Head. So past Indian Head on the east coast there, you've got a really narrow cutting through really, really soft sand. No way we get the territory through there. In fact, we saw a guy in a little Outback Subaru go there, and he came unstuck, just bellied out. So we ended up having a great time. We ended up actually catching a taxi to Lake Mackenzie. We had a ball there because, again, we couldn't get the car in through there. But no, look, it was good. The problem is that, as I said, no clearance. The territory's got all the mumbo that you need. It's 190 kilowatt or whatever. But there's once you bellied out, it's like someone putting a plank between your legs, lifting you up and expecting you to dance. Not going to work, is it? So yeah, there you go. How did that compare being in the cruiser? Yeah, so the 2013 trip, of course, we had the Land Cruiser. Yes, older car, all that sort of stuff. But clearance, bigger tyres, low range, all that sort of stuff. And that trip we came in through Rainbow Beach, which is the southern end of the island. And interestingly enough, when we sort of driving up through that area, you're on bitumen, and then eventually you come to the point, you get onto the beach. And at that point, I knew, I was still at road pressure tire, the tyres 42 psi. So I knew I wasn't going to get all the way to where the barge was, but I thought, we'll get as far as we can, get out, drop the tyre pressures down, and then keep going. And sure enough, we literally got about 100 metres onto the beach, and I could just feel the whole car just. So, all right, no worries, stopped. And we could see the barge was actually coming in. So I said to Mel and the kids, I said, listen, you go there, wait for the barge. I'll put the tyre pressures down. So they scooted off. I took all the tyres down to 20 psi or something, jumped back in, and just rolled down, no dramas at all.
Dad, heading on the barge.
But at that point, we knew that we were going to be the last ferry at that point, so 4 o'clock, whatever. And when we got in there, we were the only one on the ferry, the only car and van on the ferry. And the captain came out and said, what time's high tide? And I said, it's at, whatever it was, 17:15 or something. And he goes, where are you headed? I said, we're going to go try to get past Eurong. He goes, all right, well, when you get on there, he said, don't go the inland track, go the side track. You can do better speed. You can do 80 k's on the beaches there. You can only do 40 k's on the inland tracks. That's the law. So no worries. So we did that, and we started fanging down the east coast, and we knew high tide was coming in, and Eurong's a fair way up, 35 k's or something. So it was going to take a little while. we sat pretty comfortably on about 70, 80 k's an hour, no worries. But then at one point we could see that the waves are sort of coming, and there's less and less beach to drive along. You've got the cliffs up here, the beach there, and the waves are sort of starting to come in, and we're going along. And sure enough, at one point we thought, okay, you've only got about 3 meters left. There's just no room for error, and if we get sort of bogged, forget it. Your car's washed away. So we pulled over. There's a little bit of a clearing, and as I was going up there to scout around, there's I could see some headlights, 2 sets of headlights coming. It's starting to get dark. And sure enough, I sort of yelled out to Mel. I said, try and get him on the UHF, trying to get him to come over. And they did, and they actually told us, one of them, the young kid in his Hiluxes or whatever, one of the young kids, his dad lived on the island, so he knew it really well, and said, yeah, no worries, just follow us up. We're going to go up through the dunes here, and there's a camping spot there, you'll be right. So we did that. We followed them up, and then we bid them farewell. They sort of mooched on a little bit further. We camped up, and we had a ball. As it turned out, that was at Govey. And the next morning we found that we actually weren't allowed to camp there because there'd been aggressive dingoes. And indeed, I did see a dingo when we were there, and he left me alone. But in the morning, I went for a bit of a walk. But yeah, we ended up camping up near Eli or Ellie Creek. And so that 2013 trip, we were able to do a lot more. We went through Indian Head, we then went through the Champagne Pools, and we went all the way up to Sandy Cape, right up to the north. Brilliant spot. And Lake Mackenzie and all sorts of stuff. The only little problem was that at that point, Lake Mackenzie, there'd been a lot of damage on the island from winds and rain and storms. And Lake Mackenzie was kind of brown and murky, whereas normally it's this crystal clear blue paradise. So it was a little bit disappointing in that sense, but look, we had a ball, and totally different with the Land Cruiser pulling it. It was a lot less stressful, a lot easier, and that trip was a lot shorter than the 2008 trip. We basically went up to, so before Fraser, we went up to the Birdsville, into Birdsville. We planned to go to Popal Corner, which is the geographic corner where basically you've got West Australia, Northern Territory, South Australia, something like that. It's where the borders meet. And no, it's Northern Territory, Queensland, South Australia. I think that's the one. Popal Corner, and Birdsville's to the east of that. And we sort of thought, what we'll do is we'll leave the caravan there at Birdsville, and we'll drive into Popal Corner, camp there the night. We had swags or tents or whatever, swag there the night, and then just come back the next day. And then what happens is we're driving, and we're going up the dunes, down the dunes, up the dunes, down the dunes. There's 1,100 dunes or so end to end. And we just miscalculated literally how long it was going to take, because when you go from the east to west, the prevailing winds are from the west. So the western face of the dunes is a lot less of an angle than the eastern face. And so we're coming up the eastern face. So it's taken a lot more effort, a lot more time to go up and then cruise down, up and cruise down, etc. So we thought we got to be about 3/4 of the way. It turns out we were about 1/3 of the way. So it wasn't going to happen. We realised we touched base with another guy who was coming across, and he made us realise that this isn't going to happen tonight. So we turned around, we went back. By the time we got back to Big Red, it was sunset, and we sort of mooched around there. So we had that lost opportunity, that adventure that I wanted to have to go see Popal Corner. But but then from there we sort of Charleville, Windora, etc., back to the east coast, and then. That was good. Right. And so your dad, Frank Senior, was involved in this trip, wasn't he? Yes, so Dad. The way that happened is that Dad actually flew up the day that Mel and the kids flew back, so from Coolangatta or whatever the airport is. And they left at about 11 o'clock in the morning, and then Dad flew in at about 5 o'clock. I picked him up from the airport, and he stayed in one end of the Jayco Swan. I was in the other end. And basically over the space of about 3-4 days, we sort of came through central New South Wales, Coonabarabran, through the hills and all sort of stuff, and then parks, etc., and then back down home. So that was cool. Another sort of good bonding experience. We travelled fairly well together, talked lots of rubbish. It was good fun. Right, so let's delve into when you really got into the four-wheel driving, the low-range stuff. How did that start? Yeah, proper four-wheel drive. So you mean like low-range stuff? Yeah, so that takes me to Ian Crampton, my old boss. we'd sort of parted ways. He'd left, he went over to the CFA, and then he went to Esther, different places, but we still kept in contact. And the one day he messaged me and said, "Oh, listen, wondering whether you're interested in doing some of this four-wheel driving with me and a few mates." And he sent me some photos, and I actually recognised a couple of people. So one of the guys, Dan, used to work for McAfee, the antivirus place, and I recognised. I was, "Oh, is that Dan?" Oh, yeah, a lot of guys from different places, Cisco and what have you. So they're all right, cool. And so this was the 100 series, and so we decided that I'd take the boys, Nicholas and Lachlan, and we also took Mikey, my nephew, Kendra's son, and I think so. We had a rooftop tent, and we had the Oz tent for the boys.
Right. And where did you go?
Dargo on the Friday afternoon. We get up there, sometime 8-9 o'clock at Dargo, and I'd meet this dude called Phil Edgecombe. I'd never met him before, but he was one of these guys that Cramps knew, and then he'd take us from there into Talbotville, and so that was how the plan came about.
Yeah, so that's an interesting combination, the sort of aspect of people working in technology and things like that, but then also off-roading, going off-grid, and that sort of the wanderlust where they don't want to be connected, they want to be away from it all. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, so tech and off-roading, it's an interesting thing. So a lot of these guys are like this. On one hand, you've got guys who are sort of, I guess,
right,
semi-senior people, whether it's some of the guys work for Cisco. As I said, Dan worked for McAfee, Ian was in infrastructure, I was in infrastructure, a lot of sort of IT, whether it's sales or pre-sales or whatever, stuff like that. But a lot of the crowd is then also the sort of people that, and I think I mentioned this before, that they just want to disconnect. They want to not be on call 24/7, not worry about what security patches are coming, not worry about Microsoft monthly downloads and all that sort of stuff. So it's good. They very much like to get away, go bush, and not be accountable other than to themselves, and really sort of reconnect, center themselves, refocus. It's I call it canvas therapy. I don't know if I mentioned it before. Canvas therapy. It's really, really good, therapeutic. So that first trip was good.
There was an incident or something, because again, you kind of became published, but in a magazine.
And so there was an incident there. So that was around March 2014, and what had happened is that it was, I don't know if you remember, Frank, there was bushfires around that time, and down towards your lawn and that, there was some really, really major bushfires happening there, and one of them was like a part of the coal fields there that was still smouldering. But as we left home, so we were sitting in the driveway. I back out of the driveway, I get down Warrigal Road, and
right,
one of the things with the old Land Cruiser on gas, the petrol, is that every now and again they'd have that where they'd backfire. And what typically happens there, and this is a stupid thing I didn't think about, the airbox pops open from a bit of pressure, and that's exactly what happened. Now I didn't realise this. And so we just kept going, we driving, and we actually got all the way down to, so past your lawn or what have you. I think we may have stopped, wherever, Moe or something, and when we stopped in the Macca's to have a bit of dinner, I noticed that there's still smoke sort of coming up under the bonnet. It's like, what's going on there? And I opened the bonnet, and I said to the boys, I said, "You going to take in some dinner? I just want to have a look at this." And along the firewall, just sort of like under where the windscreen ends and engine bays, there's that sort of fibrous insulation stuff. Well, it's smouldering, and what had happened is that when the air filter box popped open, the actual hose connecting that to where the top of the LP gas system is actually came off, and it then fell down and rested on the extractors. Now, as you know, mate, extractors, hot, right? They run hot. So what had happened is that all this rubber hose had actually melted completely, and there was bits of molten rubber on that sort of insulation, and was literally just smouldering. You could see it just glowing like embers. So luckily I had an old water bottle, and I was full of water. I just managed to literally put out the embers, and so that was cool. But then I'm thinking, okay, the problem here is that the airbox, which cleans all the air coming into your engine, isn't connected to the engine anymore. So I thought, right, well, we're on the road, it's clear, we're on bitumen, it should be okay for now. So when we get up to Dargo and I met this guy, Phil, I sort of told him what had happened. First time I met this guy, and we sort of had a look, with scratching our heads, and it's like, all right. So what I did is I actually put I had like a little hand towel, and I put the hand towel around the throat, the intake, and clamped it down to act as a bit of a filter, and then we'll look at it in the morning. But it just wasn't letting enough oxygen through. So as soon as I go to accelerate, there just wasn't enough air trying to suck in air, not enough. And so what we decided, we'd leave it off. I'd go in front, even though I didn't know the track going down to Talbotville, and Phil would navigate from behind me, right? So that was pretty scary. So we ended up getting all the way to Talbotville, okay, unscathed. But then that was midnight, 1 o'clock or something, and then set the tents up. Boys went to sleep. I'm up in the rooftop tent, and I'm just mulling it. Well, how am I going to fix this? How am I going to fix this? We stuffed, and I really couldn't sleep. But must have been about 5:30 in the morning. I sort of got out and I opened up the bonnet and I looked at my toolbox. And I thought, what are we going to do? And so I ended up actually fabricating out of that same water bottle that I'd used. It was a Toshiba water bottle. There's a good bit of product placement there, a Toshiba bottle. And I managed to fashion it, cut it to the right angle. That together with a stubby holder and some zip ties, I managed to basically connect the water bottle, cut the end of it, cut the top of it off, connect it to the stubby holder, cut the end of the stubby holder through, and made literally a makeshift tube, a little hose, clamped it all together.
Are you kidding?
And probably about an hour later, Phil wakes up and he comes out, 6:30 or so, and he's like, "Oh, mate, we better have a look at this." And I said, "No, don't worry about it. Check this out." And he was like, "Whoa!" Like serious bush mechanic stuff. So, that was really cool. Bit of and you're right. I ended up I put that into there was like a bush mechanics articles that they were putting into Four-Wheel Drive Action magazine. Put it in there, and lo and behold, they published it, which is pretty cool.
And so is this this love of the outdoors and the four-wheel driving, that technical aspect of driving, did that rub off onto Mel and the kids as well?
Mel and the kids, no, well, not really. Mel's really not into swagging. She's more of a 5-star caravan type camper. She did tents when we were younger, but no, getting in and out of a swag and things like that, just not her cup of tea.
Are you kidding?
The boys, well, as I said, the boys came in that first trip, and look, it was good fun, but it's not their thing. But as it turns out, Hannah came to, I think, the second trip that we had, and so she was about 15, I guess. And and she. I said to her, look, do you want to come? I said, some of the guys are going to be bringing their kids, they're going to be between 5 and 12, 13 years old, And she's like, "Oh, are we going to be out of range?" I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Oh, we have the internet or telephone." And I said, No, we won't." She goes, "Oh, for how long?" And my heart kind of sank. It's like, I said, "Probably 3 or 4 days." And she goes, "Oh, fantastic." And I was like, "What?
Are you kidding?"
And she goes, "Yeah, it means that I can disconnect. I don't have to worry about having to reply to my friends. So and so doesn't like so and so, or so and so's broken up with so and so. I can just tell them, look, I'm not going to be able to respond, and I'll talk to you all when we get back." So, and I was like, "Whoa, that's really cool." And look, she loved it. She was like the Pied Piper. She had these kids hanging off her. She was like the big cool girl, and they were all there was a couple of girls who were like in their probably late. Like 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, so maybe early teens sort of thing. And they were just, she was just the ants pants with them. So that was really cool.
All right, that's amazing. That's so cool. That's cool. So does she come frequently?
Yeah, so she's the traveller. She loves doing all sorts of travel. So I think she was in year 10, and she asked us if she could do this World Challenge activity. They had this mob come to the school, and They were going to do this thing in Peru where they were getting like 12 students, a couple of sort of people who go along there to supervise them, take care of them, and they go to a country somewhere and they do some community project, and then they see things. So this trip was to Peru, and the idea is that they fund themselves, they raise the money, although we raised half of it, and Mel raised half of it. But that was a deal. It was like $6,000 or something. So she did it right, and they do this community project, and it was a real a bit of a turning point for her, because I think she's South America. Oh my God, you're in another country and you're in on the other side of the world, seeing a culture, a place where the traditions are so different. She was really, really struck by that. And then since then, she's done a lot of trips. She spent like 5.5 months in Southeast Asia last year. She just came back from India. She's planning to go to Africa, all that sort of stuff. So she's a traveller, really bit. But she also loves her getting out and about, just in the tent and what have you. She's bought her own 4-wheel drive now, a little Prado. Go. Yep. Woo! That was fun. All right, stop. She loves it. And so at this point, you've discovered this love of 4-wheel driving and the swagging and the canvas therapy, as you say. Did the caravanning take a back seat to the 4-wheel driving? Like, did that just get shelved, or how was that? No. So I would do these sort of the swagging stuff fairly regularly. Mel and I would go caravanning. We take the caravan, and quite often with friends. We got a bunch of friends who also do that sort of stuff, and family. My cousin, as I said, cousins. And then every now and again, Mel, I go away for these 4-wheel drive weekends. Every now and again, Mel might go away, like to Sydney with her friends and the girls, to go see a show, So it's all about balance, mate. You know that. Yeah, right. So what happened to that old Jayco Swan? So the Swan, we did a trip in, I think it was Christmas or just after Christmas 2017, and went up to Mount Buffalo. We had one of Hannah's friends, Renee, with us, and we camped up there at Lake Catani. It was great. And it turns out we had about 40 mil of rain the first night. They had like 72 mil up at Ball, wherever it was, not far from us. But it poured down. But in the middle of the night, also we hear this drip, 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 and in the ceiling there's a water feature. Sorry, a water feature, you reckon? Yes, mate, a water feature, not one that was designed. It was just water coming through the ceiling, so we had to put makeshift buckets and all that sort of stuff. It was not a great time. So how did you fix that? Well, we couldn't fix it. The next day I had to drive back down the hill, went into Bright, paid like $120 for a big sort of 6x6 tarp, threw it up over the top of the caravan. It was like the weather wasn't such that we could sort of put it all down and check it out. So I literally just threw the tarp up there, managed to drag it around. And that kept the water at bay. So was it repairable? Could they fix it? So when we got back home, what we did, put the caravan back down the back of the house, and I climbed up the roof, and what we'd found is that, as it turns out, there was damage from a branch that had fallen onto the top of the caravan, which we didn't know about. So what I think had happened is that the previous trip to that was up to Rocklands Reservoir, and we must have been away from the caravan, because we quite often will do a few hikes and all sort of stuff. And a branch came down unbeknownst to us, and it's actually pierced through the roof of the caravan. And so we didn't know about that. The caravan's been up the backyard for 4 or 5 months and all that. So while it was dry inside, as soon as we had all that rain, it literally just started coming through the roof. That was not great. So was it repairable? Could they fix it? Yeah, no, mate. It was written off. We went and got some quotes from Springvale Caravans, and they said it was something like $13,000 for a new roof, because of the age of it. They had to wait until they had enough orders, because the new roofs were different dimensions, different style, and all that sort of stuff. So they had to wait for a few orders for new roofs before they'd actually do one. So they said, no, we're just going to write it off. So luckily it was insured, and we got the insurance payout. And so now it's time to look for another caravan. And we decided that we'd go the Expander. So why the Expander? What was the key element to that made it better than the Swan or anything else? Oh, well, Mel loved the Expander. Every time we'd be at a caravan park or camping, like Wilson's Prom, she did this a few times. We'd be going for a walk around the caravan park, and she'd walk past an Expander, and if there was someone sitting outside, she'd just go, "Oh, excuse me, I really like your caravan. Do you reckon we could have a look?" And every time they go, "Oh yeah, for sure, come and have a look," blah blah. And so she looked at all the features and all that. She really thought they were a great option to the Swan, because where the Swan is, there's a lot of work in raising the roof all the way up, and then you still got the fly screens and all that sort of stuff. Just a bit of a hassle, and so she wanted something a little bit more, a little bit less hassle, let's say. And so the expander was a good option for that. The only problem that I saw with the expander is that the Swan we could get in through the garage height-wise because it sat pretty low. The expander, no. So we walked out. What that meant is that we then had to keep the caravan on the front lawn. Happy wife, happy life, isn't that right? Yeah.
That's it for this episode, but there'll be more to come. If you've enjoyed it and feel the inclination, please like and share however you want to do it. And importantly, share it with anyone who you think might also like it. Or don't. I don't mind either way. I also want to take the opportunity to thank my sponsors. Mel's been instrumental in planning most of our trips, and let's face it, it takes a lot of effort to take my harebrained half-hatched plans and turn them into these epic adventures we've had. Hannah, while not a financial sponsor, also gives me inspiration with her adventurous spirit and willingness to come swagging and roughing it. Family and friends mean everything to us, and without them, seriously, it'd be bloody boring. So thanks to everyone who plays a part in these adventures. Catch ya!